Like, it's like your favorite book that you never get to read for the first time again. And it's done. And they are the ending that you never wanted to come. And it's like, what do you do now? Because if you could choose to go with, like, it's not suicide, you're choosing to go. That means there's something that you can step onto. There's a platform beyond. Hey everybody, welcome into Folklore and Flourish. You're here with Jane and Mark over at Blue Box 29. Today is February 18th. Today's topic is the reunion. We are in week 3, Love Lost and Found. Today is the reunion, so we are entering the Love Found stage of our week 3. The theme for today is that love restores what was broken. Our 4 stories we are going to look at will come from Greek, Irish, German, and Japanese folklore. So we are going to listen to those 4 stories, and we'll see you after that. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to honor the cultures behind the stories we are about to explore. The tales shared here come from many peoples, lands, and traditions. I do not change these stories to fit modern expectations or to align with today's social standards. Instead, I present them as they were told, sometimes beautiful, sometimes harsh, sometimes challenging. We are not here to judge the past, but to understand it, to listen, to learn, and to honor the ancestors who carried these stories forward. We also share stories from various religious traditions. These are presented in their historical and spiritual context, with respect for their beliefs that they represent. Every culture deserves respect, context, and acknowledgement, and this space is dedicated to doing exactly that. Story 1. Persephone returns. In Greek myth, love is not proven only by pursuit. It is revealed in return. Persephone, daughter of Demeter, had already descended once into shadow. She had already been taken by Hades, ruler of the underworld. The earth had split. The meadow had gone silent. The seasons themselves had broken under Demeter's grief. But this story begins not with her descent. It begins with her ascent. When Hermes, messenger of the gods, led Persephone upward from the underworld after her last season below, the world felt her before it saw her. Demeter had not rested. She had not adorned herself. She had not laughed since the meadow closed over her daughter. Crops had failed. Seeds had refused to awaken. Fields lay skeletal beneath a pale sky. But when Persephone stepped back onto the surface of the earth, something changed immediately. Demeter felt it first. Like a tremor beneath the soil, like sap rising inside frozen wood. The goddess turned, and there she was. Persephone was not exactly as she had been. There was something steadier in her gaze, something older. The innocence of the meadow had not vanished, but it had been tempered. Demeter ran to her. The reunion was not quiet, it was not restrained. The earth itself seemed to inhale. Grass surged upward where Persephone's feet touched. Buds broke open in reckless color. Orchids remembered their purpose. Grain unfurled from beneath seed, as if it had only been waiting for her shadow to pass. Spring was not merely a season, it was Persephone's arrival. The Greeks understood this not as metaphor, but as law. Demeter's joy was agricultural fact. The earth responded to reunion with fertility. But the story does not end there, because Persephone had eaten the pomegranate seeds in the underworld. 6, some say. And in Greek belief, to consume the food of the dead binds one to that realm. So the return was partial. When the appointed months passed, Persephone did not resist the descent. This is where many retellings simplify the myth. They focus on Demeter's grief, on the fields growing barren again, but they do not linger in the underworld when Persephone returns to Hades. Yet the Greeks did not imagine Hades as a caricature of cruelty. He was stern, yes, bound to a realm of inevitability, but he was not chaos. He was order of a different kind. When Persephone descends each year, the underworld responds. The asphodel fields, where shades wander in quiet grayness, seem to sharpen at her presence. The air grows less stagnant. The throne beside Hades is not ornamental. It is hers. She is no longer merely the abducted maiden. She is Curie and queen. When she steps again across the threshold of the underworld, the rivers shift. Styx, oath-bound and severe, shows its current. Lethe, river of forgetting, seems to whisper more softly. Even Cerberus, the three-headed guardian hound, is said to lower himself at her approach. Hades rises when she returns. This detail matters. In later Greek hymns and regional traditions, Persephone is not described as a prisoner once the seasonal order is established. She sits beside Hades as co-ruler. She hears petitions. She judges the dead. She becomes a mediator between mercy and inevitability. When she descends, the underworld stabilizes. Hades, who governs the inescapable, is no longer solitary in his authority. His realm is not warmed exactly. It does not bloom, but it becomes structured, balanced, held. If Demeter's joy creates spring, Persephone's return to Hades creates equilibrium in death. The Greeks saw this clearly. Without Persephone, Demeter starves the earth. Without Persephone, Hades rules alone. Without Persephone, the cycle fractures. Her movement between realms is not weakness, it is architecture. And so the world bends around her. When she rises, the earth blooms. When she descends, the dead are governed with a queen beside their king. Both realms respond, both realms change. Both realms depend on her return. The reunion with Demeter is luminous, explosive, fertile. The reunion with Hades is quiet, inevitable, sovereign. Neither erases the other. This is what makes the myth endure. Persephone does not choose only one world. She becomes bridge between them. Demeter must learn that love cannot freeze a daughter in childhood. Hades must learn that possession cannot prevent seasonal departure. Persephone herself transforms most of all. She is no longer defined by abduction. She becomes defined by rhythm. Her return to Demeter teaches the earth to bloom after loss. Her return to Hades teaches the underworld to hold its order without cruelty. The Greeks did not interpret this myth as simple romance. It explained agriculture. It explained winter. It explained that daughters grow. It explained that even death has structure. But it also revealed something deeper. Love is not always proven by rescue. Sometimes it is proven by return. Every spring is Persephone's ascent. Every autumn is her descent. And the world survives because she comes back to both. The myth asks not who she belongs to. It asks what happens when love is strong enough to endure separation without collapse. In Greek thought, reunion is not erasure of what happened. It is continuation. The earth blooms again not because nothing was lost, but because something returned. The underworld steadies not because it is gentle, but because it is shared. Persephone moves, the world answers. And so the Greeks saw reunion not as a fairy tale ending, but as seasonal law. Story 2. Angus and Care reunited. In Irish myth, love is not defeated by transformation. It waits, it searches, it remembers. Angus Og, son of Dagda, was the god of youth, poetry, and desire. His name meant young strength, and his palace at Bruna Boina shimmered with music and golden light. Yet even a god of joy can be undone by longing. One night Angus dreamed of a girl so radiant that he woke in grief. She stood beside a silver lake, her hair falling like moonlight, her voice softer than wind across reeds. When he reached for her, she vanished. He did not forget her. For a year he wasted away, food lost taste. Harpstrings went silent beneath his fingers. Even the halls of his father could not distract him. The Dagda, alarmed by his son's sorrow, summoned Bob Durg, king of the Tuatha De Danann. and asked for aid in identifying the girl from his dream. After searching across Ireland's otherworldly realms, they found her. Her name was Care Ibormith, but she was bound by enchantment. Each year on the festival of Samhain, Care transformed into a swan. For 1 year she lived as a woman. For the next, she lived as a bird among 150 other swans on the lake of the Dragon's Mouth. When Angus finally saw her in waking form, the dream returned with clarity. She was real. She stood before him. But love in Irish myth does not yield easily. Care's father declared that Angus could not simply claim her. If he truly loved her, he must recognize her among the swans when she transformed again. The lake at Samhain was filled with the white wings. The air was cold. The water was black and still. 150 swans drifted across its surface, identical in form, identical in color. Angus did not hesitate. He stepped forward and called her name, not as command, not as possession, as recognition. Care. One swan turned. In Irish telling, love is not merely desire, it is knowing. Angus shed his own human shape and transformed into a swan beside her. He did not drag her back to land, he joined her. Together they rose into the sky, circling 3 times over the lake before flying toward Brúna Boyne. As they flew, music followed them. Those who heard it fell into a deep and peaceful sleep for 3 days and nights. This was not conquest. This was union through shared transformation. But the story does not end with flight. It ends with return. When Angus and Care arrive at his palace, she did not remain swan alone. She resumed her human form, and so did he. The halls of Brúna Boyne brightened. Harps resumed. Candles burned steadier. Even the River Boyne seemed to run clearer. In Irish tradition, Angus is often associated with birds circling his head, symbols of kisses and whispered love. After Care's return, those birds multiplied. The world responded. Where longing had drained him, reunion restored him. Where silence had overtaken his halls, music returned. But Care was not absorbed into his world without impact. Her presence altered it. She carried with her the rhythm of transformation, of seasons, of return after change. She had known life as woman and bird, as solid and air, as presence and distance. And so their union was not static. It held motion within it. Unlike Demeter and Persephone, whose reunion reshaped agricultural law, Angus and Care embody love that survives enchantment and alteration of form. They are not separated again in the myth, but transformation remains central. Irish myth often refuses permanence. It prefers cycles. In some later regional variations, Care continues to shift at certain times of the year, though no longer in exile. Her transformation becomes chosen rather than imposed. And Angus does not resist this. He learned that love cannot demand fixed shape. It must follow. When she returns to him, whether in feather or flesh, the world answers. Brúna Boyne glows. The birds gather. Music travels across the hills. Reunion here is not about restoring something broken. It is about embracing what has changed. The Irish do not interpret this myth simply as romance. It speaks to recognition beyond surface form, to loving someone across transformation, to waiting through enchantment without surrendering memory. Angus searched for Care because he could not forget her. He found her because he knew her. He kept her not by force, but by joining her. And when she returned beside him in shared shape, the world did not merely resume, it expanded. Love did not defeat endings through reversal. It defeated them through adaptation. In Irish thought, reunion is not return to sameness. It is return to each other after alteration. The myth asks a quiet question. If one you loved changed form, would you still recognize them? Angus answered yes. And when Care flew back beside him, Ireland answered too, with music. Story 3. Liebestod Legends. In the old telling, the end is never simply the end. The Germans have a word that behaves like a secret door in a wall. Liebestod. Love, death, the moment when love refuses to be dismissed by the ordinary laws of time. They did not speak it as one word. Sometimes it was a hush in a chapel. Sometimes it was a melody remembered after the singer was gone. Sometimes it was the way two names, once spoken together, could not be pried apart again. The most famous hearthfire of this kind burns around Tristan and Isolde, two lovers whose story is stitched through medieval German traditions, sung and retold until it became less like a tale and more like a weather pattern. Their love arrives in the wrong season, under the wrong sky, and it does what forbidden love often does. It makes the world smaller, sharper, and more expensive. Tristan is a man shaped by duty. He serves King Mark, a ruler who has given him honor and a place. Isolde is promised where she must be promised. Her life is already arranged, like a table set for a feast she did not choose. In some versions, there is a drought, a love potion meant for the king and his bride. In others, there is no magic at all, only circumstance and proximity, the kind that pulls two souls into the same room and then locks the door. Either way, the result is the same. Tristan and Isolde look at one another and learn a terrible fact. Love can be a reunion you were not expecting. It is not a reunion in the simple sense, not the kind that happens at a gate when someone returns from a journey. It is a reunion in the deeper sense, the one that feels like recognition, as if something lost long ago is suddenly standing in front of you, wearing a human face. And because the world is what it is, recognition becomes rupture. They are discovered, separated, condemned by the very structure that once held them up. There are forests in the story, hiding places, coded messages, narrow escapes. There are also long stretches of silence, because secrecy is not only the fear of being caught, it is the slow injury of never being able to say a true thing in daylight. What makes a legend endure, though, is not the hiding. It is what happens when hiding ends. Tristan is wounded. The wound is not clean, not the kind that closes politely. It is the kind that keeps opening, as if his body has decided to tell the truth even when he won't. In older tellings, it is a poisoned blade, a treacherous strike, an injury that cannot be healed by ordinary hands. And so the story becomes a search again, even here, even late. Someone must find Isolde. Someone must bring her. Because love, when it is real, does not only desire, it summons. Word is sent like a thin thread across distance. A sail will be the sign. A white sail for hope, a black sail for loss. The sea becomes a waiting room, and the sky becomes an argument between two outcomes. Tristan lies in the place that feels like the edge of the world. He listens for footsteps. He watches the horizon. He keeps returning to the same thought, like a finger pressing a bruise to prove it exists. If she comes, the ending is not final. If she comes, the story is not finished. If she comes, love has found a way back. This is where the legend grows teeth. Because reunion, in these stories, is not always timely. It is not always merciful. It is not always arranged to spare the heart. Isolde does come. She crosses the water. She chooses the journey. She chooses the return. She is not simply a woman carried by fate. She is a woman who steps into fate with her eyes open. And when her ship approaches, the world responds. The waves do not stop for grief, but in the telling, they seem to slow, as if the sea itself is holding its breath. The wind shifts. The air tastes like iron and salt and prayer. People on shore watch the sail the way villagers watch a storm cloud, knowing it will change everything the moment it arrives. But the sign, the simple sign, is endangered by human hands. Someone lies, someone is jealous, someone is afraid of what love will rearrange if it survives. In some tellings, it is another Isolde of the white hands, a wife bound to Tristan by politics rather than flame, who cannot bear to see the beloved return. In other tellings, it is a messenger who misunderstands. In all tellings, it is the same ancient force, fear of being replaced. So the sail is reported wrong. White becomes black in the mouth of the witness. Hope is misnamed as loss. Tristan hears the words and something in him breaks. Not loudly, not theatrically, but decisively, like a cord that has been holding a weight for too long. He dies before she reaches him. That sentence is why people remember the story. It is why the tale feels like a bruise shared between generations. Because it is not only tragic, it is familiar. It is the human terror of missing the moment by minutes, of arriving with love in your hands and finding the door already closed. Isolde arrives anyway. And this is the true center of the Liebestod legends, the reunion that refuses to be canceled even when the body is late. She enters the room where Tristan lies. She sees the stillness. She understands what happened without needing it explained. The grief that comes over her is not only sorrow, it is recognition again, sharpened until it becomes unbearable. In some tellings, she collapses beside him, kissing him as if warmth could be commanded back into his skin. In some tellings, she speaks to him, telling him what she crossed to reach him, naming every distance she swallowed like medicine. And then she does the strangest thing. She reunites anyway. She does it not by reversing death, but by refusing to let death be the final author. She joins him, not with drama, but with devotion. The heart follows where her love already went. The old storytellers did not always describe the same mechanism. Sometimes she dies of grief. Sometimes she dies as if her soul simply steps through the same door he stepped through, refusing to stay behind in a world that has become unrecognizable without him. But what matters is the meaning the legend insists upon. There are reunions that happen beyond the reach of clocks. In later German imagination, this becomes music, especially through Wagner's telling, where the Liebestod becomes a kind of luminous surrender, not to despair, but to union. The lovers do not win by surviving. They win by belonging to one another so completely that the ending cannot separate them. In this tradition, love is not only romance, it is metaphysics. It is the claim that what is bound in the deepest place remains bound, even when the surface world calls it finished. And the world responds to that claim too. Not with miracles that reverse the plot, but with the quiet miracle of remembrance. People retell the tale, they keep the names together, they sing it, they weep at it. They hand it forward like a torch, which means the lovers are not erased. They become part of the human vocabulary for devotion. This is how reunion becomes larger than two people. It becomes a way of seeing, because anyone who has loved knows that endings are not always clean. A goodbye does not always persuade the heart. A grave does not always convince the soul. Some attachments keep echoing, not because a person is weak, but because love is real and reality is stubborn. The Liebestod legends do not ask you to approve of every choice in the story. They ask something sharper. When love returns, what in you returns with it? And when love is taken, what in you refuses to stay behind? In the German imagination, the answer is not sentimental. It is severe and beautiful. Love defeats endings not by avoiding loss, but by insisting that separation is not the final truth. Story 4, The Sun Bride Returns. In Japanese folklore, reunion is rarely loud. It does not split the sky. It does not overturn kingdoms. It does not declare itself with trumpets. It returns quietly, like light touching paper walls at dawn. One of the gentlest reunion legends comes from the old village tales, sometimes called the Sun Bride, a variation of celestial maiden stories found throughout Japan. In these stories, a heavenly being descends to earth, marries a mortal, and is later separated from him. The reunion that follows is never simple. It must be earned. In one telling, a woodcutter named Taro lived near the edge of the forest where the trees thinned and the sky felt wider. He was not rich, he was not noble. He was simply steady, and steadiness in these tales matters. One morning, while walking near a river, he saw garments hanging on a pine branch, robes so luminous they seemed woven from sunlight. Beneath the trees stood a woman bathing in the water, her form bright as if light had chosen the shape. She was a Tennin, a celestial maiden from the heavens. In some versions of the story, the man hides her feathered robe to prevent her return. In gentler tellings, including later retellings shaped by Buddhist and Shinto values, he does not trap her. He finds her distressed, separated from her robe by accident or by wind, and offers her shelter instead of control. This distinction matters, because reunion born of kindness is different from reunion born of possession. The celestial woman, often called a sun bride for the radiance she carries, agrees to remain for a time. She marries Tarot. She learns the rhythm of earthly life, cooking rice, mending cloth, sweeping the tatami floors. She moves through the village like a quiet blessing. Crops flourish. Illness lessens. The air itself feels lighter. Their love is not dramatic. It is domestic. They have a child, and then, one day, the robe is found. Whether it was hidden and rediscovered or never meant to remain lost, the robe calls to her. It is not only fabric, it is identity, it is origin, it is the thread that ties her to heaven. When she touches it, memory returns in full. The sky is not merely above her, it is her home. And so separation comes, as it often does in Japanese folklore, not through betrayal, but through inevitability. She must return. Taro does not rage against heaven. He does not curse the sky. He stands beneath it, holding their child, watching as she rises. In some versions, she ascends in a column of light. In others, she walks into mist that thickens and then dissolves her form. The village dims. Without her presence, fields yield less. The house feels colder. The child grows, but grows in absence. Years pass. In reunion stories in Japan, time is rarely brief. Love must endure the stretch. Taro does not remarry. He does not forget. Instead, he does what the quiet heroes of folklore do. He works. He raises his child. He remembers her voice when the wind moves through bamboo. One day, guided by longing or dream, he climbs a sacred mountain. Mountains in Japan are thresholds. They are not only geographical heights, they are spiritual ladders. The closer you climb to the clouds, the thinner the line between worlds becomes. Taro climbs not with anger, but with hope. The mountain air grows sharp, pines thin. Snow gathers in hollows. He reaches a shrine where bells move gently without wind. And there she is, not as a distant sun, not as a fading vision, but as herself. In some versions, she appears older, changed by heaven as he has been changed by earth. In others, she is exactly as he remembers, luminous and untouched by years. What matters is not the detail of her face, but the recognition. They see each other. The world responds to reunion differently than it responds to departure. When she left, silence fell. When she returns, even briefly, the world brightens. Snow seems to glow rather than freeze. The air smells of cedar and incense. Even the shrine's bells seem to ring more clearly. But reunion is not simple restoration. She cannot stay permanently in the mortal world without consequence. Heaven has laws, earth has gravity. The two realms do not merge easily. Instead, they speak. They speak of the child, they speak of the years. They speak of the ache that distance carved into both of them. In some tellings, she is permitted to descend once a year like Persephone in Greek myth, though the tone is different, less famine, more longing. In others, Taro is allowed to visit heaven but must leave before dawn, like a traveler who cannot cross the border fully. The reunion is partial, but partial does not mean weak. In Japanese storytelling, beauty often lives in impermanence. The word mono no awaren describes the gentle sadness at the passing of things, an awareness that fleeting moments are precious because they cannot be held forever. Reunion here is not conquest, it is presence. When she descends to see her child grown, the fields brighten again. When she walks beside Taro briefly, the world feels balanced. Not permanently restored, but aligned. The villagers speak of it quietly. They do not exaggerate. They say that on certain evenings when the sun lowers slowly, a woman of light can be seen near the pine trees. They say crops do better in those years. They say the air feels merciful. And Taro, older now, does not cling. He understands that love is not defeated by distance if memory remains active. He does not try to hold her robe again. He does not demand she abandon heaven. Instead, he meets her where the worlds overlap. This is a reunion that defines the tale. Not a rebellion against separation, but a weaving across it. When she returns to heaven, the sky does not close violently. It softens. The boundary feels less like a wall and more like a veil. The child, grown, understands both realms. The earth continues its cycles. The shrine stands. And somewhere between heaven and forest, the promise remains. What is true does not disappear when it changes form. The Japanese did not tell these stories merely to imagine celestial romance. They told them to speak about the grief of migration, the sorrow of soldiers leaving villages, the ache of families separated by duty or death. The celestial bride is a symbol of that ache, and her return, even briefly, is a symbol of hope. Love restores what was broken, not by denying the break, but by returning to it. The world responds when love returns. It does not explode, it steadies. Light falls differently, breath slows, memory becomes warmth instead of wound. And when she departs again, the absence is no longer raw. It has been touched by presence. In these tales, reunion is not permanent possession. It is proof that the thread was never severed. Hey everybody, welcome back in. Today is February 18th and you are here with Jane and Mark over at Blue Box 29. We are at the reunion of week 3, Love Lost and Found. Today is the reunion. The theme is that love restores what was broken, and our lesson is that love defeats endings. The daily thread is: across these traditions, reunion is never accidental. Persephone's return restores harvest above and order below. Angus and Care reunite after longing proves devotion. The German legend suggests that even death cannot prevent union. Japanese sunbride tales honor the sacred return of light after absence. Love defeats endings by insisting on presence where absence once ruled. So the reunion. So the very first story, we have seen Persephone so many times. She's one of the most popular myths or stories to focus on throughout mythology. Some scholarly things, obviously, she keeps popping up. But in this one, specifically brought out the return not only to Demeter, the reunion not only with her mother, but the reunion with Hades, the king. I really enjoyed that, the purpose, how both places relied on it and waited for her, and could handle her absence simply on knowing that she would come back. And the important note for this one is that in Greek myth, reunion does not erase separation. It transforms it into rhythm. Return and departure woven into the survival of both worlds. What did you think about that?
No, I actually enjoyed this story. This one, for whatever reason, today, I enjoyed it more today than I did before, for whatever reason. And like I was telling you before we came on camera, it like I got this visual while I was watching it of like gears, like the upper gears up top and then Hades down below. And they're just kind of going along doing their thing. But she is really that thing that keeps both going. And then you said something about the infinity. Well, hers would almost have to be to make both of those spin. Either hers connects both or hers would have to do the the 8, which is the infinity, to make both go, which is pretty neat. I like that.
Right. And she changes in between constantly. Those places still welcome her and still expect her, and they even expect her to be changed. Like how to Demeter, children do grow up. You miss them and you get so excited to see them, but they do grow up. They get older. They become themselves. They have their own families, all of that stuff. And then you just enjoy them while they're there. You just allow that life to surround you. And I really enjoy how a lot of the time we get to go on vacations and we get to be with family during summer. We take that time where it's bright, it is full of life. It's the warmest time of the year, and we go spend it with family. Also, that separation, that we do get, like how you're bringing up, we should have hobbies outside of each other and stuff, or just wanting to. Like, you like to socialize. I want to have some time to just sit and like read and where I'm not working or cleaning and stuff.
Yeah, I just want that social side of my business
Mm-hmm.
where I am with people because I enjoy that interaction. It fuels me to 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 smile at people and to give them, just some goofy little remark as we interact. So whatever that has to be, or um, whether it's, doing my business that I've told you that I want to do moving forward in that class
Mm-hmm.
that I want to take, just that opportunity to interact with somebody, whether it be one on one or not, but socially, that's just where I thrive and I need that.
Right.
So that's moving forward. Definitely something I want to do and set myself up for the ability to have. And that, I mean, I haven't really punched in the numbers. Holy cow.
Right.
That could be pretty lucrative.
It's in the growing years that it's hard because you don't go travel. You don't go have fun. You're building something. And that's what's hard. It's like that's not the part you romanticize, you know? It's the hard waiting. It's the waiting period, is what it is. Because our stuff is out there and it is just waiting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so story 2, Angus and Care reunited. In Irish mythology, reunion does not erase transformation. Love endures by recognizing the beloved, even when they arrive in another form. Recognizing when you've loved those eyes before. Imagine.
It'd be kind of a trip.
He stepped up to the challenge. He stepped up to the consequence of failure and the reward of success.
Yeah.
And the reward wasn't that she was the prize. It was to be loved in return was the prize. To be chosen in return is a prize. We've talked about that, how when we want to feel loved and we want to be loved, how sometimes it just comes to the origin of we want to be witnessed. We want someone to witness our life and to feel important. Like, in our eyes, we are the main character of our story. We want someone else to think we're a main character too.
Yeah, for sure.
And this story, they chose each other.
Mm-hmm.
He stepped up to the plate and she acknowledged him and she said, yeah, come on. And it wasn't possession, it was just choice. And I just love that.
Right.
The choice that they made, and that it was Ireland answered back and acknowledged them with music. I loved that part.
Mm.
Story 3, where Tristan and Isolde drink that drink and they fall in love and
Yeah.
against the king's orders. And then he gets wounded on the battlefield and people lie. She's not coming. As I was listening to it again, I feel like I would want to know why. I would at least wait for them to show up.
Right.
Why? Why couldn't she come? No way she would be there. If that's the love, like I would hope you would be like, no, she would be here.
Mm-hmm.
Or she's gonna get here as soon as she can, because I would try and I would get there as soon as I could.
Yeah.
Like the second I could be there, I would be there. The idea I really liked in the story today, we heard it. The idea that she stepped through that door with him. That she chose to, we talked about the Notebook ending, to the movie The Notebook, and how they both peacefully go on. That is so beautiful, that to think of it as an active step through that same doorway.
Yeah, as I listen to this, I don't know if you saw me shake my head.
Yeah, why did you shake your head?
Because I was just imagining you, like, when it's my time, like, being ignorant and trying to do that same thing. Being like, well, he's gone. I'm good. Peace out, bitches.
Oh, you want to talk about space?
You're like, yep, long enough. I mean, over there, time really doesn't matter. So over there, it could have been like seconds is long enough.
But it would just be an adventure, yeah. But then it would be, I think, too, you would have no recognition of what you left behind. And
Dude,
this wasn't like a suicide or anything. She
yeah, she
laid
stepped
down and
well,
her
and that's what I'm
soul
saying
stepped
too.
through it.
Well, and I wasn't saying that
No.
either. I'm just saying like that, where you're just like, yeah, me too. Like the ability to do that. And I truly believe that, like the Notebook, you can do that. You
Mm-hmm.
can choose, like, now this is what I wanted. This is why I was here. Still, the reason why I was here is you.
People,
Everything that came from it was just a bonus.
I truly think that those are beautiful endings.
Mhm.
Because, like, what else? Like, yeah, there's family of kids, grandkids, but I was here for my partner. I was here with my partner. The
Mhm.
person that understood my story, the person that I saw their story is gone. Like, it's like your favorite book that you never get to read for the first time again. And it's done. And they are the ending
Mhm.
that you never wanted to come. And it's like, what do you do now?
Mhm.
That's how I would feel. So, yeah, I would hope for that kind of ending as well. I would.
Yeah. But then there are the people where you do have your partner, but there is also that part that you got to experience that piece.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's that whole other part of the world where now you get to explore that with having them and then grow into something else.
There are so many different alternatives, and none of them are right or wrong because
Just whatever
maybe
you
we
feel.
do that before.
Mhm.
Maybe that desire's not there. Maybe I've done everything and I'm so excited to go on this next step.
Right.
What if it is like that heartbreak, that grief, that sorrow, but that almost excited spark that allows your soul to go, oh, I'm going to follow you.
Yeah.
And like as a partner, I don't know, isn't it kind of beautiful that your partner would follow you too, like beyond the end?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you could choose to go with, like, it's not suicide, you're choosing to go. That means there's something that you can step onto. There's a platform beyond.
Yeah, for sure.
And so that's beautiful.
Yeah. I don't disagree at all.
And that, it could go any way. And it could be, I have all this to do. And I'm going to get this done. And I know that they're going to wait for me. And, waiting isn't like you're sitting there. You're doing your thing. And we'll find each other again. And that's beautiful too. But like people just want to get my jokes down here, honestly. So like, where you go, I go, baby.
Mm.
I told you I didn't ever want you to go somewhere I couldn't follow you. I did like that part of it. I don't enjoy hearing any story where people influence them, just not knowing, so just assuming or saying something or not taking the time to fully listen and the consequences of that.
Mm.
But in these legends, reunion is not always a moment in time. It is a bond that outlives the moment that tried to end it. I really liked how this emphasized that there are, here it is, here's the line. There are reunions that happen beyond the reach of clocks. Like I said, there is a platform beyond that can't touch you anymore.
Right.
It can't touch us. And that's like, I truly believe that that's God.
Yeah.
Because that's God saying that love will continue and that's it. So that's why we're here. What is the love that you can bring with you? And that's what you take with you.
Well, I think that's all that's like truly, I think that's all the purpose of existence is.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the way things grow, if you look at the way nature is and the way humans react, we do pretty much everything out of like, yeah, we do a lot of greed and like whatever, but at the end of the day, everything boils down to love, one way or another. And that's like everything. So why wouldn't it expand beyond, this reality, this physical reality that we're in. Why wouldn't it go beyond?
The story 4. So we've heard stories before where the skin's been taken from the beautiful, woman, and then they're trapped there. They have a child, and then they find their skin again and they go home. This one, I liked how it was seen through a much gentler perspective.
Depending on which
Right, and
adaptation.
let's look at it as the gentler reunion, because
The
that's
Buddhist
what we're
one.
focused on. Yeah, the Buddhist and Shinto kind of adaptations of it. Of she embraced the life that she had. The robe was gone, so she was embracing what was happening
Mm-hmm.
and the love and the child, all of that. But then when the robe was found, she ultimately wanted to return back, and she was allowed to. And I liked how this was the man like let her go, knowing that was kind of beautiful too. But that he also goes and finds her.
Yeah.
Like there is a reunion. She left, but I'll find you.
Like
That's
he took care
beautiful.
of their child, stayed, but at the end of the day, he's like, "Yeah, I don't care. I'm still coming to find you."
Right. So this one says that in Japanese folklore, reunion is rarely permanent. It is precious precisely because it is temporary. Love defeats endings, not by erasing distance, but by crossing it again. Reunions don't always last. They might be short, but they can continue to, happen. Sometimes the distance becomes longer, sometimes it just becomes harder, but it can still happen.
Mhm.
And that's beautiful to think about too.
Yeah, because who's to say in that story that's all that person needed to be here for that
Hmm.
time, um, to in time to give that child and then go away because it didn't need to do any more than just that.
Well,
And then it's like, I'll see you when you come.
and the
And they
idea
did.
and the idea that you're obligated to live your life though. you know, like how I feel like it's hard to grow up and to be like, oh, well, I want to still see my family, but then you have your own family and you feel torn. It's like, oh, but they've always been my family. And it's like, yeah, but we are obligated to live our own lives as well.
Yeah.
Like, that's why we were cared for so much growing up. So we had the opportunity to have our own lives. And this story kind of makes me think of it as well. We'll find our way. We'll always love each other. And sometimes we love each other from a distance. And then we get short reunions because we are obligated to continue to grow and live,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that looks like. So that's pretty cool. So with those, we talked about how it's the reunion. Love restores what was broken. Our lesson was that love defeats endings. So as we go through our day to day, we're going to think about, who do I hope to see again? Who do I hope to see again? And I love how that's open ended. It's purposely not saying in what realm and what reality in one aspect. It's just saying, sit and analyze, who do I hope to see again?
Mm-hmm.
And then today we are going to embrace something alive, acknowledging the miracle of presence. So today we're just going to embrace something alive. So like hugging a tree, acknowledging a flower, like bending down, speaking to it. We're going to embrace it in some way today. And then we're going to remember that love defeats endings by insisting on returning. Love will always insist on returning. The world requires it.
Mm-hmm.
So that is all that we have for you guys today. It's February 18th. We're already almost through February. We have 10 days. 10 days left of our second month already. That's crazy. We got to kick it into gear with our book.
We do.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And
But it's gonna be nice as soon as that person contacts us and it's like, okay, here you go. Bam. I
right.
want that book by August. I want that first possible, like, hand us what you think is ready.
Right.
Here's the money to do that, to make that happen. And I'll be like, man, I need a LOA. See you guys.
I don't even remember what I was doing before this podcast. Like every day.
Yeah.
What was I doing? I guess the book stuff. I was doing the TikToks, but I like doing the podcast, you know? Because then we got the TikToks for the books, but then when we do our next book, we can push the TikTok again.
By then, we're going to be such a well-oiled machine on this.
Mm-hmm.
You truly will only take 2 hours of the day, one to record, one to edit.
Yeah.
It'll be done. Because by then, I'll have it set to where we're going to have it, the ability, both mics will be separate, all that editing will be easy. As I'm sitting here, I truly want to try and set it up with a monocaster again, just one more time to see if I maybe did do something wrong. Just
Do
to
you
try
think
it.
you did? Was there something you looked up that is making you think that?
I don't know. Just this feeling I want to try.
All right. Well, that's all that we have for you guys today. Today was February 18th. We will see you tomorrow. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for coming in, guys. Love you.